what is new with SB 100? It's passed the Senate and
Yes.
now it's in the House.
You bet. It just cleared its first hurdle in the House, and that was actually a committee hearing. Special Committee on Government Accountability is the committee it landed in. And we did very well.
Today, we are fortunate to be joined again by Mr. Pat Holland. He's working diligently on SB 100. That's legislation in Missouri, which will give Missouri citizens the ability to reclaim their right to use gold and silver as legal tender, along with a number of other important rights. Pat is going to give us an update. Pat, welcome back to Ron's Basement.
Thank you for having me back, Ron. I appreciate it. I love being here. And by the way, I was curious if I could name the silver bear.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Smitty.
Smitty.
Yeah, he looks like a tow truck driver, and all tow truck drivers are named Smitty. So I think, he looks like a working man,
Well, with all the work you've done, especially here in Missouri to help forward this legislation, you'll be a guest of honor when we have the $85 silver price and we take the blindfold off the silver bear. So what is new with SB 100? It's passed the Senate and now it's in the House.
You bet. It just cleared its first hurdle in the House, and that was actually a committee hearing. Special Committee on Government Accountability is the committee it landed in. And we did very well. It was, unfortunately, all the Democrats said no, all the Republicans said yes. That is common in Jefferson City. We definitely have issues in Jefferson City between the two parties. They'll vote no. And by the way, I hate to really bring it up this way, but it is actually really important to understand. Democrats will vote no, and Republicans will vote no against the will and the wishes of their constituents based on their dislike of a person who is sponsoring a bill or the party of the person who's sponsoring the bill. So we do have a lot of that going on in Jefferson City, but it was 12-5. So we cleared that hurdle very well. Once again, we have a lot more Republicans than we have Democrats in the Missouri legislature. So the next hurdle for it to go through is what's called a rules committee. And that's not something we can affect. They're basically going to check and make sure that it's compliant with the Missouri Constitution, it's compliant with the U.S. Constitution, and that it doesn't break any Missouri rules or anything like that. So, and that's what they do. So your and my phone calls are irrelevant to what that committee does. So actually, it's not like we can encourage someone to vote yes for it. They just determine whether or not it complies. So that would be the next step. But I do want to talk a little bit about, some of the things that have happened along the way. That's all new. It all started this week. There's some crypto language that has been actually attached to the bill. And that is not necessarily permanent. And I'm in communication with people in Jeff City and other grassroots organizers such as Ron Calzone in the state of Missouri. If you're in Missouri and if you're interested in Missouri politics, you probably know who Ron Calzone is, but he's taken a look at it too. But SB 100, our gold and silver bill in Missouri, has become the IT bill. For those who don't know what that means it is the most popular bill in the state of Missouri in 2023. So because of that, here's what happens in politics. And once again, this has nothing to do with gold and silver, folks. I'm talking about politics now, but I'll keep it real simple. When you have the most popular bill of the year in Missouri, other people start looking at it and salivating, and other people would be legislators because of their legislation that failed to get through the process. They're going to try and find a way to attach it to the popular bill, the IT bill, and basically in an attempt to get their legislation through. So that's the process we're in right now, is what we call the Christmas tree effect. So people are starting to see SB 100 as a giant Christmas tree, and they want to stick their ornaments on it. So this is a different part of the process we're going through right now to prevent those ornaments from getting on the Christmas tree. And actually even to deflect, from the idea that it's a Christmas tree to begin with. This needs to be a pure, clean bill, totally constitutional, no weird stuff on it. I am not happy about the amendment that was put on there for crypto. I can tell you very basically and very quickly, it's a definition. They put in definitions in the bill of what cryptocurrency is, what blockchain is, and what cryptocurrency mining is. And then they're attempting to put laws in there to prevent basically cryptocurrency miners from being discriminated against by government or by power companies. And that's what's been added to the bill. Now, that can be taken off in conference. I don't want to get to that because that gets very technical, but that can be stripped away. Okay. And this bill was popular because it was gold and silver. That's why it's popular. But so it becomes a Christmas tree because it's popular. And so legislation that wasn't as popular as gold and silver is going to try and get on the bill. And then, so that's a new phase of what I do, my function, and I'm working with other grassroots people to help prevent this from happening any further. And once again, crypto language can be taken off in the conference process. So the bill is still moving, though. It's alive and well and moving. And thank you to anyone who is part of Ron's audience that has actually made phone calls, sent emails, or gone up to Jefferson City on behalf of this bill, because it's because of you this bill is so popular. This is a big team effort. No single person can claim that they did it all. This is how things are supposed to work. And this is exactly how it is working. But of course, now we've entered the uncomfortable phase of Christmas, the Christmas tree phenomena that we're dealing with right now with our SB100 bill.
So, yeah, nobody can claim that they did it all. I agree with you 100%. But on behalf of my viewers, I'd like to thank you, because if there's somebody who's probably done a whole lot, and dare I even say maybe the most, in terms of supporting this bill and really working hard tirelessly. And I want to point out to my viewers that Pat is not profiting from this in any way. He's doing this pro bono, I guess is the way to say, that you've just dedicated a tremendous amount of your personal time and resources to seeing this get through.
I have, but many other people are helping as well. And what we're doing, more specifically to your broader audience, is we're prepping our state for the dollar collapse. That's specific. If you want to know, hey, Pat, what drives you? I've got a daughter, I've got 2 grandkids, and I care very much about the future. And it's funny because before I had kids, I didn't really care so much about the future. It's weird how being a parent and a grandparent can change you, but we have to do something. And this is really constitutionally pretty much our only option is gold and silver. So other states are doing it as well. Thank God. And it's because of many of you in Ron's basement that legislation has appeared in other states. And I can't say that for certain, but I have done my level best with what little time I have to help people in Ron's basement that wanted to get this legislation in their states. And if it wasn't before I started appearing in Ron's basement, there's a very high likelihood the activity level of your listeners, your viewers, Ron, actually help make this happen in their states. We did miss Florida. I've been asked quite a bit about Florida. We missed the filing date deadline to get legislation in Florida. So they're going to have to wait till next year. Let's see, it's Virginia. We missed Virginia as well. We missed their filing date. But many other states, we got their filing date, and I'm still looking very closely at Mississippi. Mississippi, we may still have legislation in. We've had 4 of your viewers contact me, and I have sent them all information. And also I have been emailing and calling a rep in the state of Mississippi to try and get legislation going in there.
Yeah, well, and this is a very popular subject with my audience, no doubt about it. And I think maybe it goes back to what we were talking about offline before we came on here, that an individual needs, on an individual basis, we need to be prepared. We need to be our own central banks. But then the next level up from that is, do you live in a state that allows you, that has laws to grant you, these rights regarding silver and gold as well? That it's a personal. And I think that's what we all want. And you mentioned that with your daughter and granddaughter. We want to be safe, right? We don't necessarily want to get rich, but we want to be secure. We want to preserve what little wealth we have. And we know that like what's going on a national level in this country is a spiral from a fiscal perspective, I guess, and a monetary perspective, and that there's really, it's hard to see a good result for the U.S. dollar, whether it be paper, digital, whatever, and that people on an individual and a statewide basis now, and the states individually as well, are looking to protect themselves.
First Mining Gold is a development company advancing two of the largest gold projects in Canada, Springpole in Ontario and Duparquet, located in Quebec. Each already has 5 million ounces of gold reserves, but exploration initiatives are underway at both projects to find even more gold. First Mining is well-financed, has zero debt, and owns an interest in 4 additional Canadian gold development projects.
And you hit the nail on the head there. We're in a spiral, and a lot of people are not understanding that very well. We could even talk and link the social problems we have in the United States with the fall of the dollar. I'm not going to do that on the show, but it's directly linked, folks, and you can actually look at the fall of the Roman Empire and draw direct parallels to what we're dealing with in the United States right now. And we're talking about on a social level, the craziness that goes on the social level. So chaos, is, the order of the day. It's happening in Europe right now. It's happening here. The world reserve currency is going away, whether, it doesn't matter whether the mainstream reports on it or not. It's going away. And when will that be? This year? Will it be next year? Will it be 2025, 2026? I don't know, but I will tell you it's going away. And there's other nations that want it to go away sooner than later. Those are the BRIC nations. That's how we know we're correct in this. This is not hyperbole. This is a fact. Other nations around the world are tired of America's influence with the dollar, weaponizing the dollar, using the U.S. military to enforce countries to use the dollar. They're tired of it. They want away from it, and they have more power than we do now, unfortunately, because we have overprinted the dollar. They've been waiting for this moment to get out of the dollar, and we played right into their hand by overprinting because of the pandemic. So okay, get off that subject. Go back to. Go ahead.
SB100, I just want to mention, you said the next step now is it goes to the rules committee, right?
That's correct.
Where it's going to be checked to make sure that it adheres to laws and whatnot. I can't help but throw in, maybe along with SB100, you send along a copy of the U.S. Constitution for them to read, so they can go to, what is that, Article 10, where it states.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up.
I'm brilliant.
Yeah, you are pretty smart, Ron, and maybe a little too smart sometimes. I'm going to put out a video, and it'll be on the YouTube channel too, which I very rarely put stuff on our YouTube channel because we're on Odyssey, because we've been censored so hard by YouTube, and I'm not liking it. But I think the next video I put up will not be censored, and that is the hearing that happened in literally yesterday. I recorded it, and by the way, it's video and audio. It's both, because they've got cameras in the House. The Senate is audio only, but in the House it's video. And I want you guys to, if you can, maybe by the time I'll have it done, and I'll send the link to Ron, and he can link it down in this video, because I want you to see, there's a woman, and you'll know it when you see it. She's a Democrat, and she talks about Krugerrands. And she mentions in this spirited debate between her and Dirk Deaton, the House handler, how the U.S. Constitution says that gold and silver is only money if it's minted in the United States. And she says that's in the Constitution. Dirk Deaton replied, I think gold is gold and silver is silver in the United States Constitution. She goes, no, I think it has to be minted in the United States in order to be money. Guys, you'll see comments like this. This is not something that I put up to make fun of people. This is something that I put up because other states need to be aware that there are many people that are legislators in your state that don't even know the Constitution of the United States, and they don't care that they don't know. Willful ignorance. And I'm not picking on a Democrat here. I'm not doing that because our organization, the Missouri Freedom Initiative, we do not play sides. We work with everybody up in Jeff City for the betterment of the state of Missouri, for everyone to benefit, as long as it goes by the Constitution. Unfortunately, some people find that offensive because that doesn't necessarily include a lot of things that a lot of people want to see in the state. However, it's critical for you guys to see this if you're dealing with this in your states, to understand that there are people that have no clue how gold and silver work, have no clue what the United States Constitution says, and they don't care to learn either. But I will be putting it up on the Missouri Freedom Initiative YouTube channel, as well as Odyssey and Rumble, so you guys can see. Go ahead.
And I will link that in this video. I'll also put out a community post through YouTube where it'll get blasted out to all my subscribers. I can't help but throw in as well, Pat, when you're talking about how people have no clue about silver and gold, that's like 99% of the US population.
Yeah, but most of them don't make up stuff about what's in the Constitution. She literally said, oh, it has to be minted in the United States, for it to be considered money.
Right.
No, that's not what the Constitution says at all, actually. Dirk did a great job of handling that without trying to offend her in her willful ignorance, her lack of knowledge. But guys, we have this all the time. There's a lot of people that are legislators that have no idea what the Constitution says, or any idea what the Missouri Constitution says, if they're in Missouri. But it is an example for you guys to see what you're up against if you're fighting this in some of your states. Now, Tennessee, gosh darn it, Tennessee. They got their depository, and they had no resistance from the Democrats. Look, you'll see in the video that I'm gonna produce and put out for you what we're dealing with Democrats in this a juxtaposition, if you will. But yes, I'm a tad jealous of Tennessee, but I'm proud of you at the same time. You guys did a fantastic job getting that depository through your legislature, and clearly they're thinking about the future, and they're not thinking about right-left politics and the paradigm that we deal with every day.
Yeah, and this is all good for silver and gold. All good, and all good for the citizens of the states that are going to be granted these rights, and from a protection, from a self-preservation, however you want to say it, wealth preservation perspective. These are all really great things for the citizens of these states.
It is. It truly is. And once again, yes, this will be very good for the price of gold and silver, but this is not the intention of myself or my colleagues. This isn't about making gold and silver go up. This is literally about forming a protection barrier between us and the federal government when the dollar tanks. Guys, every state is tethered to the federal government to a certain extent, generally through the dollar, through the money that's collected in taxes by the states, which comes back to the states, which is a stupid concept to begin with. Why not just leave it in the state? Why does it have to go through the filter through the federal government first if they're just going to give it back to the states anyway? So your taxes would be lower. You can make better choices with what you do with your money. But those tethers, just like a mooring, just like out in the ocean, if you tether all the boats together, they will hold each other up, right? Mm-hmm. And they will keep, but if you have the central big one go down, it will take down the small ones with it. And that's exactly what we're trying to prevent in Missouri. And 22, 23 other states are trying to do the same thing in their own way. Not everyone's doing what we're doing in Missouri. We're going for the whole enchilada at one time. And that's fine. Other states don't feel they can get that done, and they're just trying to get rid of sales tax on gold and silver. And that's a great start. That, great. And good on all of you states that are doing something. Do something. And other states that refuse to do something, they will pay the price for this. There will be consequences.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you for your tireless efforts on behalf of the citizens of Missouri, and really, I would always say on a national level, because like you said, I know you've helped many people in different states as they kind of, move along in their desire to get this similar type legislation going. I'm going to put a link to the Missouri Freedom Initiative in the description of this video. And once you get the video up, it was the House debate.
Mhm.
Is that correct for SB
Yeah, it's a
100?
House committee here, or House committee. I'm sorry, it wasn't a hearing. What it was is what's called an executive session because they voted.
Okay,
But there was small debate, not debate so much, questions and answers going back and forth
right.
between committee members. And
Like, what is silver? What is gold? Right?
yeah, it didn't get that bad. Thank God. Thank God. Because guys, I have posted stuff from our legislature before, and I literally did have, this is actually kind of funny. During the SEPA debates, or the Second Amendment Preservation Act debates, I posted stuff, and politicians had contacted me and said, "Why did you post that? That is so embarrassing." And it's because Democrats were saying really stupid things. And I hate to say it again, Democrats. It sounds like I'm playing the right-left paradigm. There's Democrats up there I get along great with. I call friends, but at any rate, there was some really, really, really stupid statements being made, and then of course I was live streaming it at the time through the Truth, Money, and Freedom podcast, and then politicians were calling me saying, "Go off the air. This is really embarrassing for our state." I'm like, you know what? The truth.
We
Warts
need
and
to be
all.
embarrassed. We need to be embarrassed.
Yes, we do.
I mean, and you know, and I'll end with this. I don't think we can blame the 97% of people who have no clue about silver and gold, because it was illegal to own from 1933 until 1974.
Mhm.
And then, you know, right about that same time, the US was taken off the gold standard. And you and I have talked about this in a previous video. There, you know, it's just not been a part of our culture, I guess is the way to say it. Like,
Yep.
you know, it was squashed in many different ways.
Yeah.
So people think that paper, you know, printed currency is valuable, and don't really understand.
You know, we could blame the government, and we can blame the education system too. But I'll tell you what, where I place a lot of blame is actually Hollywood. You know, for demonizing gold and silver. Only criminals use gold and silver. Only criminals use cryptocurrency. You know, no, criminals prefer the dollar. Trust me. We deal with that all the time in the state of Missouri. We catch people, you know, dealing, whatever drug. And what do they have? Do they have Bitcoin that they're confiscating? No. It's an enormous amount of U.S. currency.
Right.
So Hollywood did a disservice to plant a psychological seed that only criminals use gold and silver. And so I unfortunately, you know, those are part of our culture now, those movies and TV shows and stories, you know, but it's simply not true. Gold and silver is not a preferred vehicle by criminals. It's always been cash. Always U.S. cash, that is, by the way. And even in other countries where massive amount of drugs, you know, are being shut down. You know, for instance, the cartels in Mexico, are they catching them with pesos? Are they catching them with gold and silver? They're catching them with U.S. dollars.
Not to mention, that much silver is impossible to lift, I've been told, right? I mean,
it would be somewhat weighty to carry that much silver around for sure.
But so that's a great point, Pat. Because it is, silver and gold are somewhat demonized on many different levels. But the reality is, anytime you see a big bust on TV, it's always piles of cash, right? It's always piles and piles of cash.
Well, you know, and it's true, you know, because I, have a slight in with law enforcement in the state of Missouri. And with the big busts that are happening, I mean, it's not Bitcoin, it's not gold or silver, it's cash. And it always has been, by the way. Yes, once in a blue moon, you'll hear. And by the way, when there is a criminal that uses Bitcoin, trust me, that gets on the news. That does get on the news. But that is rare. Very, very rare. So maybe one out, or 99.998%, of criminals prefer to use cash, so maybe we should have a study on that. How many doctors, stranded on an island would take Bayer aspirin? Let's find out, how many criminals, prefer to deal in Bitcoin. Let's do a study on that. But I hate to draw out the video and everything, but I do want to say one more time how much I appreciated the appearances on your channel, how much that, you know, your audience has helped to get legislation in other states. I'm not sure how many. We'll do an accounting of that later, but this is a prime example. If you allow me to talk for 30 seconds here real quick, a prime example of the people literally taking back their government. Literally the people participating in the legislative process in their own states. This is how it was meant to be. Those of us who do not participate on the state level and we focus on the federal level, we are not helping to affect change. All we're doing is we're driving ourselves crazy, essentially, by literally giving our energy to the circus show in DC. If you're not participating in your state politics, I mean, you're missing out on getting your freedom back, because that's how you get it back.
The states are where it's at.
Correct.
That's where the change can go. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Ron.
Let me tell you on behalf of my viewers, because I know this to be a fact, they really appreciate what you're doing and they love to hear you talk updates on SB100 and just your thoughts on the other matters. So thank you. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you again real soon.
Okay. Thank you for having me back. God bless you, buddy.
All right, buddy. Have a good day.
You too.